as Beijing continues its barrage against Japan for the Prime Minister's comments on Taiwan, where are relations headed? Could China cut off Japan's access to rare earths like it did back in 2010? And could Japan change its stance on nuclear arms amid the tensions? Joining us to unpack all the latest is retired Marine Colonel Grant Newsham. He's a senior fellow at the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies and author of When China Attacks. Grant Newsham, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back on the show.
We're always glad to be here.
Now, amid the current dispute, if you will, between China and Japan, China has been following its usual playbook and punishing Japan for taking a stand on Taiwan. But there is one card we haven't been seeing played yet so far, the rare earth card, like they did back in 2010. Why do you think that card's not on the table right now?
Well, I think they're seeing what they can do without that. It's always there. Wouldn't surprise me if they're just about to play it, or maybe they even started and we just haven't seen it. But they know they've got it. But also the Japanese have done better than just about anyone else at breaking the dependency on the Chinese for rare earth. They used to be well over 90%, and now they've got it down to about 60, which is a lot less than us. So it's not quite the chokehold that they've got over the Americans. I think the Chinese are enjoying themselves, sort of working themselves into a lather, thinking or seeing what sort of nasty names they can call Prime Minister Takaichi, really what sort of additional venom they can heap on her and the Japanese.
Now, on another front, you have China's foreign ministry spokesman is warning Japan against nuclear arms, calling it a major negative policy shift. Now, how likely are we to see Japan's Takaichi change the country's, say, direction or guidelines on nuclear? Could we see a U.S. nuclear-powered submarine end up in Japan?
Well, actually, we do have U.S. nuclear-powered submarines come to Japan. We don't have any that aren't nuclear powered, so they do come to Japan. Whether or not they have nuclear weapons aboard is another question, and I think that has always been a question that nobody asks. Suits both sides that way. But the Japanese have been thinking about nuclear weapons, nuclear power. Well, they've got nuclear power, but they've been thinking about nuclear weapons for a long time. They are, of course, as we heard during sort of the end of the Prime Minister Abe era, but also after he stepped down, he was talking about things like, well, maybe letting the Americans bring nuclear weapons onto Japanese territory. That might not be such a bad thing. And the Japanese have always been very concerned that the Americans might not use nuclear weapons to defend Japan if necessary. So Japan's attitude towards nuclear isn't quite as pacifist as some people would think. But for any major changes, that's going to come sometime in the fairly far future, although you have the right crisis and you could find Japan and the United States doing a lot of things that nobody thinks are possible at the moment. The Americans pulled all nuclear weapons out of Japan in 1972. And there's been sort of an agreement or an understanding on the part of the Japanese, or policy really, that they won't obtain, or introduce nuclear weapons into Japan. But if they did say they want to do that, it'd probably take a decade at least before we saw any Japanese nuclear subs.
Very fascinating for sure. Well, Grant Newsham, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
We'll always enjoy being here. Thank you.